and welcome back to another episode of the March to Rocktober, and this should be the final episode of the regular season before Rocktober. We're on game 150 right now, which means we've got 13 games left of the regular season to close things out. We're in a playoff spot right now. We have that second wild card spot, 4.5 above the Brewers, so we're probably locked into that second spot, which might be like the worst spot to be in, but we're there. And to get things started today, we've got to close out a 5-2 lead, albeit with the bases loaded, but 2 outs. And that'd be big because this is against the Padres, which is the team on the outside looking in right now of the wild card race. So getting a win against them puts us just one more game firmly in the postseason. So let's get to it, man. Nothing's guaranteed right here. The maybe most struggle I've had this whole season is closing out games. Looks like German Marquez had a great one. He went 8 innings, only gave up 2. Now things have been shaky trying to close out the game. Tyler Kinley was just brought in, so I can't do anything. He's got no pitches thrown. So who was it? Was it Dennis Santana that gave up all these base runners? It was. Wow, he's been so good ever since we traded for him. I wouldn't have imagined he'd find a spot like this. I don't know though. Besides Santana, Kinley is probably who we'd want in this spot the most because he's got that high clutch rating. Guess I don't know how to throw his circle change anymore. It's been a few days. Can't throw his fastball either. All right, let's maybe not go down 2-0 with the bases loaded. Okay. Okay, we're there. Doyle worried me. I saw the yellow. I didn't think he was going to get there. That would have tied the game, but we're good. I am telling you, man, closing out games with these Rockies is always shaky at best. All right, and like I said, even though that was just a quick one, that was a big one to solidify our spot at this point in the wild card race. Also gives us one more fireball of momentum. I hope we play more before the season. Oh, yeah, okay. Immediately, the very next game. I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea how many games we're going to play before the end of the season here, so I'm glad we have another one. This one doesn't look to be much longer. They really got to put me into another spot where I got to close out a lead. This one's even tougher. We've got runners on the corners, only a 1-run lead, and only 1 out. I guess let's just get right to it then. Carry over whatever momentum we had. Why is it Dennis Santana in trouble again? He's already given up a run. Guys, he's been so good. I think honestly up until that run that it said he's allowed in this game, he hadn't allowed any runs besides the one I allowed with him. So simulating wise, he had been basically perfect until now. I'm pretty sure Dane Myers is quick too. 73 speed. He's not going to be the easiest one to double up. I got to bring the infield in. I'll go halfway. We should still be able to turn 2, but then we're also shallow enough that if we're not able to turn 2 on a ground ball, we can come home with it. Not a whole lot of speed coming home, I think. I mean, if Dennis Santana really wants to lock things down, he'd punch Dane Myers out. That's the best course of action right now. There we go. Oh, we needed a chase. We got him that time. It wasn't even a chase. That stayed in the zone. Huge, though. Huge. Now they can't tie it unless they get a hit. All right, yep, back to normal depth. That's what we want. Gotta get there, gotta get there, gotta get there. I think we've got enough time for Hilliard to get under that one. There we go again. The final out on 2 deep fly balls where our outfielder got a yellow jump is not ideal, but a win's a win. And I mean, really, since we didn't sim any games in between, that's basically like getting 3 momentum fireballs. Plus, we won a game without having to spend one. So this is going very nicely here. How many wins in a row can we rack up? Okay, I guess not in a row because we had to drop a game to the Marlins because of course we did. Mariners, we might just sim to the end here, actually. We might be just going all the way. Yeah. All right, I was kind of hoping for at least one more game in there. I've been recording for 10 minutes. I did have a backup plan for this episode, though, in case that were to happen. We're just going to do a little bit of a stat recap type thing. We're going to take a look at how all of our players did over the course of the regular season. First of all, though, we got a 5-star blistering second half. We finished 91 and 71, 20 games above 500. Again, those rankings are opposite. Our fielding is supposed to be the best aspect of our team, but apparently our batting and our pitching was our strength and the fielding was not so good. All right, and we do have to play the Braves. I knew this was going to happen. Finishing in that second wild card spot is probably the worst place to be, honestly. But we'll get there when we get there. Let's take a look at how everything finalized now that the regular season's over. The Dodgers went 107 and 55. There was no catching them. I don't even know. I could have probably won like every game I was part of, and we just wouldn't have been a good enough team simming wise to make up 16 plus games. The Cubs won the NL Central with an 89 and 73 record. And then over in the NL East, the Phillies won the division with a 103 and 59 record, and the Braves finished in second place with 100 wins. This is why I say the spot we finished in is the worst, because we've got a best of 3 series on the road against a 100-win team. But the Brewers, who finished worse than us, just have to play the Cubs, who are only 2 wins better than they were. And then, yeah, this is the final wild card standings. We finished 4 games above the Brewers. Padres finished 3 back. Over to the AL, the Yankees won the division, 96 wins. Orioles only 85 wins as the 5th ranked team, but they still made the playoffs. AL Central, let's see how many losses the White Sox got this year. They almost did it again. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen a team sim that bad in a March to October in like 20 plus seasons. 43 and 119, only 2 wins. They only improved 2 wins on the record-breaking season before. That is crazy. I don't know if I could handle that as a White Sox fan. They got to do better than that for me, man. But at the top, the Tigers won 1 short of 100 wins. Twins come in second, take a wild card spot. And then over in the West, the Mariners won. Rangers take a wild card. Astros don't even finish over 500. The A's finish higher than they did. Now, it's a shame that we can't look at like league leader stuff, because as soon as it switches over to the postseason, you can't see this sorts of stuff. I really wish they made some sort of change where like you get maybe like a final day to look at all the regular season stats and then like decide to switch over into the postseason, but it just takes you right into the postseason, so we can't see any league leaders, and we can't look at our team stats like on this screen. We can't sort by home runs or average or WAR or anything like that, because all this also switched over to the postseason stats. But we will do a real quick overview player by player. Again, I was kind of hoping we'd have a little bit more gameplay before the season just ended, but no, this is fine. This gives us a chance to see what all of our guys did. First off, we'll start with our leadoff hitter, because Nolan Jones was ridiculous. I mean, first of all, he went plus 17 to his contact versus lefties, and it's not like he got a boost, fast track, or player lock or anything like that. But then numbers wise, man, he finished 1 point below a 300 average. He also stole 27 bases. I didn't even realize he was doing that. But 22 homers, 36 doubles, 6 triples out of the leadoff spot, 388 on base. I mean, this was honestly a perfect season for him. I could not have asked for anything better. I put him in that leadoff role because I knew he was going to draw walks, because he had that high discipline rating, and he went above and beyond. We got Ryan McMahon next, who got himself up to an 81 overall. Real nice season out of him. Perfect 2-hole hitter. I mean, he drove in 116 runs, so Nolan Jones in front of him was getting on base all the time. Ryan McMahon was just driving him in. Finished with a 5.8 wins above replacement. Now, I will say here, since Ryan McMahon has an awards tab, I'm gonna save looking at all the awards until the very end of the season, because then you can go into franchise mode and actually look at the awards. Within March to October, the only way to look at awards is to go on to each player and go to the awards tab if they have it. Now, the fact McMahon has an awards tab doesn't mean he won anything, because he was an all-star last year, so that would create an awards tab for him. But yeah, just a heads up as we go through these guys, we're not gonna see if anybody won anything just yet. But next up, we got Ezekiel Tovar. The regression was kind of frustrating for me, and I kind of think it must have hampered how he played. I mean, he still had a really nice season, 46 doubles, basically cut the strikeouts in half and doubled the walks. Slugging was a bit down though from the year before by his standards. Overall, I guess he finished with a slightly higher WAR. He's good in the field. I mean, that's what a lot of these guys have, is they're good in the field. Brenton Doyle, the star player, at least who was supposed to be the star, man, he actually got plus 12 to his contact versus lefties. I didn't know he was doing that. Potential also went up to an A. That's not really going to matter for us, but still kind of cool. But offensively, he put together a pretty similar season to the real life season before. OPS saw a little bit of improvement because his on base got higher. I'm assuming he had to have won the Gold Glove Award. I mean, 0 errors in center field, 5.8 wins above replacement. I don't know how good the game does at like calculating defensive wins above replacement into the overall wins above replacement, but I imagine him with that fielding, that's probably where a lot of his value came from. And then obviously he was a solid hitter. Talking about solid hitters, Michael Toglia, kind of like I was saying with Nolan Jones, he basically had the perfect season in terms of what I could have asked for. 36 home runs, he showed the power, drew a lot of walks. You know, the average was even better than I could have hoped it would be. The on base being almost 100 points above it. That was what I was relying on. Man, he also was stealing bases, 19 steals, 3.5 wins above replacement for him. Yeah, I mean, just real nice. And then Veen, I mean, how much better could we have asked for from Veen? Got the massive fast track and player lock boost. Man, he finished the season under 300 too. He was like up in the 320s for most of the year after we called him up, really. Not a whole lot of power in his bat, but that's not really his game. He just kind of hits the ball, gets on base. Only a 1 WAR though. It's kind of shocking to me. Oh my God. And then what can I even say about Thairo Estrada? In terms of when I played, when I was in control of the team, he might have been team MVP. And that's not to say he didn't sim well either, because he did. I mean, he finished with an average just under 300. Again, most of the year he was at a 300. So I don't know why all these guys are falling off on their batting average at the end of the year. But yeah, I was not expecting 18 home run power out of a guy like Estrada. I wasn't expecting much offensive production at all, really, from a guy like Estrada. I mean, you can see how much he progressed, but think back to where that would have been before the progression. He wasn't looking all that great offensively. It's kind of like, all right, we got a good glove at second and that's all he's going to be, but he turned into one of our best players, over a 5 WAR. Sam Hilliard turned in a pretty solid season considering he started the season as one of our worst players, but he turned it around. I feel like again with him, the numbers finished a little bit lower than they were the last time I looked, but he finished with a positive 1.4 WAR. I mean, he was like negative something a month or two in, almost benched him. Maybe I did even bench him for a bit. I don't remember. Then lastly, Drew Romo, called him up, got him that boost to his attributes, and like he was fine. He wasn't anything special. Not really a whole lot to say about him. He was just our starting catcher against right-handed pitching, and he was fine. And then Jacob Stallings was the other side of that platoon, and he didn't regress as much as I thought he would. I was thinking 35-year-old catcher, those ratings were gonna plummet, but he only went down from like a 70 to a 68 and had a really solid season. I mean, at the beginning of the year, he was just the all-time starting catcher, and then once we got Romo, he kind of fell back into the versus lefties platoon. But yeah, kind of the same. There's not really much else to say other than he just did a real solid job behind the plate, 2.1 WAR. Then we got Kyle Farmer. I feel like he kind of flew under the radar for most of the year, but he started against lefties too. Had some really solid progression for a 34-year-old C potential. Turned in a solid season though for a platoon guy. Kind of, again, not a whole lot to say about him. He was just solid. Yanquiel Fernandez, we called him up. We didn't succeed though in the player lock, so he doesn't have the big attribute boost. But you'd remember if you've been watching this whole series that he came out of the gates real hot. Definitely cooled off and then fell back into a bench role, but he, you know, for a rookie that's under a 70 overall, not really anything to complain about numbers wise. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't rack up more games than only 37, because he was a starter for like a solid 2-3 weeks. And then lastly, for the offense, it looks like the game kept Hunter Goodman and got rid of Greg Jones, which is kind of a shame because Greg Jones was a really good bench player, really good in the field, had good speed, and he actually turned in really good numbers for how low his hitting attributes were. So I'm not a fan of keeping a third catcher, but it's March to October, man. You got to make do with what you're given. You got no control over that sort of thing. Not really much to say about Hunter Goodman either, because he didn't play well at all, and then we sent him down, and then we brought him back up, and he didn't really play after getting called back up because he was a third catcher. When's he gonna play? Moving into the pitching, it looks like the CPU automatically reordered our rotation for the playoff run. Interesting that Jaden Hill got kept around. I mean, I guess I kind of saw that coming. Don't know if I'm gonna leave him in the rotation though, but that decision will be for next episode. For now, let's talk about Bradley Blaylock. And man, okay, hang on. I know I said we weren't gonna talk about awards, but there's no way he didn't win anything, right? He's got no awards tab there. That has to just have like not kicked in yet. It has to be. Because there's no way that Bradley Blaylock didn't at least win Rookie of the Year. He might have even had a Cy Young shot. I mean, just before this episode, though, I was looking at his numbers. In 22 starts, he had a 1.99 ERA. So it looks like his last couple of starts must have given up a few runs, which is a shame. He also gave up 4 homers. Because I remember specifically, he only had 9 home runs allowed in 22 starts. So that really sucks. He had to give up 4 more and get up to double digits. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he really became our ace. We fast-tracked him. Then we called him up with the player lock. Got the massive attribute boost, but that only got him up to like a 74, was it? So he got another +5 just naturally by playing well. So he'll be the game 1 starter against the Braves. I don't know if I trust anybody more right now. Marquez is up there too, though, in terms of trust. He was our ace coming into the year. He actually had some nice progression for being a veteran and turned in a real nice season. Just over a 3 ERA, 227 innings pitched. So maybe that update that I highlighted all the way back in like episode 3, where it said we were going to see some more realistic pitcher innings, maybe that didn't kick in to us having like an existing March to October, because 227, that's way too much. But he made good use of all those innings. Real good numbers here. Only a 3 wins above replacement, though, which I'm kind of surprised by. Then we got Ryan Feltner, who got himself up to a 73. I don't remember where he started, but for a lot of the beginning of the year, it was like Marquez and then everybody else was struggling. So Feltner getting that ERA to an even 4, not really much to complain about there. Only a 1.9 wins above replacement for him, but he pitched some solid innings on the mound. Not really much to say about Jaden Hill, just because, yeah, he only pitched 4 innings. He got called up in September. But then Austin Gomber, another one kind of like Feltner, who started off the season rough. Then he had that perfect game bid that we blew with him, you know, in only like the 7th inning. But even though we didn't get a performance boost with him, we didn't get any pluses from that game, it seemed like that was the turning point. Ever since then, he was really good, finishing the year with a 3.49 ERA. Like that's not just solid, that's actually really good. Almost good enough that I would want him as our 3rd starter, but sometimes March to October doesn't really let you do that in the postseason. They like to take control and reorder your rotation. But if we have Blaylock for game 1, Marquez for game 2, and we need a game 3 starter, I would personally want that to be Gomber. All right, next up though, we've got Kyle Freeland. Started the year as a starter, then moved him to the bullpen, then moved him back in the rotation. He was fine. I mean, 4.34 ERA. Couldn't strike anybody out. I mean, really did probably still better than you could expect for a guy with these attributes and under 70 overall. Then we got Albert Suarez, the first trade we made of the year. And looking back, now knowing the lack of trade opportunities we had after this one, I kind of regret it. I kind of wish we went with Gavin Stone. There was no way to know at the time, but it would have been a better trade because Stone probably would have continued to get better and he was a slightly higher overall to begin with, whereas Suarez with his age regressed. The logic was sound when I made the trade because I thought, hey, let's hang on to some of our bigger prospects and not trade some of our big chips away right away. And then that didn't really end up working out in our favor. Suarez was fine too. Actually did not pitch much at all since I moved him to the bullpen. When I moved Freeland back into the rotation, it was Suarez that moved into the bullpen. He only pitched 2 games in like 2 months. Then honestly, I feel like we could talk about Lawrence, Gilbreth, and Vodnik like all in the same breath because they all, I mean, Vodnik 4.18 ERA, Gilbreth 4.25, Justin Lawrence 4.28, all turned in relatively solid seasons, especially in the case of Lawrence and Vodnik. Their ERA was way up there. They were like 7-ish, couple months in, so they must have had a really solid second half of the season to close it out with the numbers they had. Apparently, I'm booted offline. But actually, Vodnik got a lot of improvement over the course of the year. So, you know, if we have to, might not be afraid to use him. Same deal with Gilbreth and Lawrence. Gilbreth actually was solid for most of the beginning of the year as the closer. It's just I couldn't pitch with him. I couldn't close out games with him. But simulating-wise, he was fine, and I think now that he'll just be a lefty in the bullpen, that's a better spot for him. And then to go a little bit more in depth on Lawrence, 4.28 ERA, kind of all there really is to say about him, really. I mean, I don't think I used him at all after the first couple months of the season, after we were getting a couple more pitchers to use. Let's talk about Kinley first, because he's the last one that started on this team. 34 years old, and he progressed like crazy. And with good reason, too. He had a sub-2 ERA season. I really don't know where this came from. I mean, he started at like a 64 overall, and from the beginning, he was locked down out of the bullpen. Again, except when I pitched with him. Not all the time, but I did struggle occasionally when I had to use Tyler Kinley. Then we got Brant Herter, our second trade, and we needed him. We needed a lefty like him who could go a couple innings at a time. I really enjoyed using him. He finished with a good ERA, so he simmed pretty well, I'm sure. And then lastly, Dennis Santana, our final trade, our biggest trade, came at a time when a closing pitcher was what we needed the most, and he came in and became the closing pitcher. I really wish there was a way to distinguish his numbers with us versus his numbers before we traded for him. But man, I swear he racked up probably like somewhere between 12 to 15 saves, maybe gave up 2 runs, just locked down out of the bullpen. But that's the last player. I think, man, I think I gotta call it there. I don't really know what else to do. It all comes down to a best of 3 against the 3rd best team in the league. And next episode, we'll see how that goes. I'm planning on playing the entire wild card series, whether it goes 2 games or 3. And hopefully it won't be the last episode of the Rockies March to October. But anyways, guys, as always, hit the like button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss when this playoff run starts. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me again, and I will see you next time.